Welcome everyone to the debut episode of the Island Life podcast, a podcast where my co hosts and I are going to try to talk all things Survivor. Right now, season 47. I'm your first co host, Will, and I consider myself an adult Survivor fan. Was watching when I was a kid. I've watched many of the seasons, not every single one, but a lot of them. I think I'm pretty knowledgeable. But it's not just my voice you'll have with you while we break down these episodes. We have another. So introducing first, I give you Ange.
Hello, hello. I am a little toddler Survivor fan. I started watching in 2020. It was my pandemic show to get me through night shifts and been loving it since. I have a goal to one day watch every season of Survivor, but right now I have around 10 in my little pocket. So, yeah, excited for this podcast.
Incredible. But it's not just these two. We have one more exciting co host. Now, this individual can only be known as Survivor F. If you're in the Road to Glory Survivor League, you might have noticed this individual. So, Survivor F, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Survivor F here, or you could just call me F for short. Just your average, well, wouldn't say average, but just introductory Survivor fan. So I noticed my two co-hosts explained kind of by stage of life. So I would say just I'm just born Survivor fan, Survivor watcher. So I'm completely new to Survivor in general. Don't watch too much reality TV, but this has been a great season to follow along, and looking forward to more to come.
Incredible, incredible. No, I'm really excited because this is like three different people, different experience levels. But the thing that brings us together is just loving the show, or sometimes hating the show. I've had my moments when I am not a Jeff Probst fan at all. Uh, and I think that's a great place to start. What are you feeling right now? Survivor season 47. Just like overall thoughts of what you've seen so far.
I feel like this, out of all the ones I've watched in the past like 4 years, it's been one of the most unpredictable for me personally. I feel like every episode I come in thinking that I know who's gonna be taken out, who's gonna be voted, and then end up being I'm blindsided this time by what people are trying to pick. So I actually really enjoy this one for me personally, as one that's watched only like in the past 4 years, the newer seasons.
Yeah, I would agree with Ange. I don't really have the same frame of reference you two have, but I think that it makes for an entertaining season just based on how it's turned out. I know I didn't first start watching the first episode. I kind of watched a recap and then got into it from the second episode onward. But it's been a fun watch. Just getting to see how each survivor kind of meshes together. Their team systems, how they differ from one another, and how they try to outmaneuver, outplay each other. So I think in terms of just being able to follow the storylines, having an interesting, or in some cases I consider him pretty troll at times, host, I think it makes for an entertaining season for sure.
I love hearing that because neither of you may have experienced this yet, but I love Survivor. But sometimes I can't say that I'm like enjoying myself as much as I want to. It's not a given that you're having like a great, fantastic time. But I think I am like pretty much every episode uh, I've been into, and this is a great time to start because we are now after a couple fake. I mean, we're full post merge right now. First member of the jury. Let's talk about it. Sierra gone. Goodbye.
No.
Yeah,
Another
no,
another
sad to
another
see it.
teary exit.
Sad to see it. It seems like two of us actually had selected her as one of our picks, so it's unfortunate. You don't want to see that. But you kind of move on, and just kind of like you mentioned, it's a fake out, right? A lot of the episode kind of gives you an idea that the story could be going in one direction, and then towards the end you start to understand as things start to unravel a little bit more. So I guess before we even continue this discussion, my question to you two would be, is this something that, based on other seasons you've watched, tends to be the norm? I know this season's just kind of halfway through so far, but like it seems to me that like each and every episode ends with something very unexpected happening.
I think that it's it's not this isn't like groundbreaking. Like, 'cause this is not like crazy new Survivor. Uh, but most of the people left, like I'm happy to say, like I think they are playing to win. Like I don't think there's not many people just hanging around, either ignorant to what's going on or content to just be pulled along. That helps contribute to blindsides every week, and it's also the culture nowadays where if you your ultimate goal, get to the end, be in front of the jury who you voted out and persuade them to vote for you. Everyone has this big move mentality. I need to fill out my Survivor resume, and people are trying to do that every week. The key is, are you making? I think someone said it last week. Smart big moves, not just big moves for big moves' sake.
I like the way you say it like that because it is like a balance of making good moves, but also to not put a target on your back by making those moves. And I feel like sometimes I think of the beginning of Survivor, like the episodes before the merge when they're just together, as like an appetizer. We're talking about like going to a restaurant. It's an appetizer. You're trying to see, you're tasting around, seeing what's going on, and then during like the pre-merge or merge time is where you get the meat of like what's going on. Because when that merge happens, that's when it really happens, and you're trying to figure out, trying to win the people over, but at the same time, as you said, build up that resume, build up like to make sure that when you're on the top three, you are actually like worthwhile to be voted for. And it's just very interesting, but I'm also like, it's scary to make those moves because I feel like in the beginning there's some people that try to make moves by throwing names out and then only to get their, get bit and get
Oh yeah,
voted out.
tale as old as time. But
Yes.
but we're kind of circling around the drain here. Let's get specific. Do you think this was the right move? Take for the majority of people targeting Sierra.
Uh, it's it's I'm not quite sure. It's not the outcome. I wouldn't say I was surprised by the outcome, but it's not the initial one that I had in mind based on who I thought was going to get voted out this week based on upon our selections. I think you know she did have a target on her back from the get go with her relationship with Sam. I think most of the other tribes beyond their own kind of knew about that, so they had this whole power dynamic kind of uh, I guess like they have this power dynamic that the other groups kind of took notice of and wanted to exploit, obviously, because they didn't want them to build in power. So, to answer your question, not really a surprising outcome, but one I wasn't hoping ended up going the way that it did. But I think I definitely can see why they saw her as an issue. They mentioned that the social aspect of the game she excelled in. So I think the further you go along, obviously you want to make sure that socially someone's not putting you in a position where the other people are getting manipulated to picking you. And I think she could be one of those people that the others were concerned could have built up others to target them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I don't know. Because I think the from the Red Tribe, former Red Tribe's perspective. So originally, team up with Yellow, just wipe out the rest of the Blues. They already took out Tiana last week, just wipe them out. And that seemed to be the default plan. And they might have were thinking about Kyle. He wins immunity, so they can't pick Kyle. But then they don't continue with targeting the Blues. They
You knew
eventually
it wasn't
pivot.
going to be that easy, Will. It was just think of that sort of storyline where one after the other blue would kind of be eliminated from the get go. I think this makes for a more entertaining watch, just kind of splitting it out like they did.
Well, sure, but if you're on the island, I can't be concerned about giving America a good show. I need to be making moves to win. So I'm trying to parse it out. If I had the social capital, would I push to continue targeting the Tuku Blue, or would I allow things to shift to Gata Yellow and target whomever they target? I'm pretty mixed on that. I think I want to keep it easy though. Like the original is blue.
Mm-hmm.
We easily outnumber them. We were kind of planning to do it anyway. Just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I agree on that. I feel like in an outside perspective, yeah, that's definitely a good way to take out Sierra as she has that social aspect to her. But I actually think Andy might have made a bad move. I think he's gonna
Yeah,
regret it later on. I think Andy is too fired up with this angst or upsetness that he's just the little thing in the pocket. But he need to think about the long run. You know, right when they get rid of all the people in the Yellow Tribe, he's going to be next and he's not going to make it to top 3. You know, if he was there, he probably might have been top 3 with potentially Rachel if he could have convinced Sam, being like, Sam, I don't think you should have Sierra up there, and like take Sierra out. You know, I feel like a part of me feel like if Andy played that right, he might have made it. I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Let's kind of delve more into that. I think the key thing to remember, and alluding to Will's points, I agree. I think that is what I was originally expecting. But as soon as we understood that one of the members who would have otherwise voted for a Tuku member ended up losing their vote this week, I think that really is what turned the tables and kind of shifted how it ended up turning out. So I think her being one of the targets wasn't like, if I were to guess, wasn't one of the original plans going in, but I think it just ended up turning into that. And I think for Andy, he came into a situation where he's just trying to lay low. He's just trying to keep himself out of the public eye, just so he doesn't draw too much attention to himself, like someone like Kyle's doing right now. He wants to be able to make it far, and to your point, and I think with the support he would have from Sierra and Sam, he would have gotten there. But you also start to see those cracks kind of show as the episodes go on, where you notice that there's a rift that is forming because they're not really communicating with each other properly as a team should. With all the disputes that they've had, we've seen that Tuco's actually been pretty strong together. So I think Andy, if he's a perceptive person, which I think he is, he starts to see things like that, and he's just trying to associate with people he feels he can trust more than the original two that he started with.
it's gonna be a slippery slope. It's dangerous. For Andy, like first of all, credit to Andy. Our boy's grown up. He's grown up to be a mover and a shaker now, making moves. The trouble is, like this, from his perspective, is a move that he drove, but I don't know if like other people would give him credit. Like I think a bunch of people will be like, "Oh yeah, like we came together to turn on Gata. In fact, we were able to like welcome in Andy." So I think I this because ideally, I think you want like if you want to make your big move for your resume, for your Survivor resume, buzzword, you want something that very clearly I did that. Uh, Easier said than done, but that's the best case scenario. I'm not sure that this is going to qualify as that. It it will a little bit because clearly he has. It's obvious he turned on them, so it's visible, but it's like with a lot of people. So it's interesting. I don't know where Andy. There's a. I think he needs to find a new number one because he's burned the bridge with Sam, unless he can pull a rabbit out of the hat, get him back on board. So if he can't find someone else to be his number one, then he's just the bottom of another alliance at this point.
Yeah, like he went from not wanting to be a follower to his original team to being a follower to another team. Like in the end, he's still the odd one out. I just don't see leaving your alliance at this time, like trying to flip and not having a strong. It would be different if he was like super like close with Caroline and Sue and had this thing going on. It was like, all right, I'm flipping now, but he's got nothing. his main thing is his vote, and that's it. So I just truly think that Andy's gonna regret it. So I'm curious. Maybe I'll take it back next week or next week. But I don't know. Who do you guys think would be like somebody Andy would vibe with the most out of the people that are here right now?
Well, remind me again. They had challenge in the past, or a journey that they went on, where it was Teeny, Caroline, and was it Andy? You guys remember? There was the
I
three
believe it
person
was.
group.
You mean the
Yes.
amulets?
Yes.
Yeah. True.
So notice
True.
that all three of those are people are still around. They're still playing the game. So they don't seem to have too much discourse between one another. I think kind of what you're alluding to, Will, like it works to his benefit in a sense that he's not, even if he doesn't get the credit for it. I don't necessarily think he might want the credit, at least in this stage of the game just yet, because he doesn't want himself to be singled out for anything. I think as soon as you see
Mm.
him start to turn things around, such as winning a challenge, I think would go a long way for him. And while he doesn't have that same relationship he did at the start with Sam, I think he's used that opportunity as the game has went on to bridge those gaps with other folks. So even if he's kind of at the bottom of that group, which I can't safely say right now, I think we still need to watch some more to understand how that would go. I think he has that social aspect to him where you kind of see the danger there too, how he can convince people to do certain things without himself looking like he's the person behind it.
You're kind of I can pick up what you're putting down here. The question will be, in the best of best case scenarios, uh, Gata stays together, and that would have got him to what, for the three or four, like final four, final three territory. And like if Rachel, Sierra, Sam, and him somehow defeat everybody else, then they're at the end. Will his new potential group, will he make it further than that? But maybe maybe this is actually okay. If he does nothing the whole season and gets to the end, he's drawing dead. No one respects him. No one gives him votes. So I mean, maybe this is his optimal play. I could you've swayed me a bit
Yeah,
there, F. So it's
absolutely. Like,
interesting.
look at it this way: he had two votes against him last episode, and now he's looking like he's the top of Gata, at least for whatever remains, right? Like,
Well, I think Gotta's finished. It's over.
Rest in
yeah,
They like the
pepperoni.
there's now three free agents, pretty much. One of which Andy has. Well, the thing is too, but like Andy, I'm not convinced that like the voting block today, which was 8 people, I think. Uh, there's no guarantee those 8 will vote together again. However, they probably will. If Andy tells one of those groups, "I'll vote with you," they probably will believe him now, as he just did it. So that's pretty good. So maybe I could believe in Andy. We'll see. We'll see. Andy has a lot of work to make me a believer, but maybe this is a step in the right direction.
I don't know. If I was one of the Survivor players, I would not want to work with Andy. I'll always have my eyes open with him. I feel like he's gonna stab me in the back anytime from now.
I don't blame you. I think Gabe is very much the same mold there. I know we've discussed him in detail before, but I think this is one of those situations where, if you guys remember how Annika got eliminated, she was asking, who set it up, and Andy was pretty quick to make it seem like he's the one who planned it, whereas Sam and Sierra were a little bit more hesitant to uh, bring out the vote against her. So I think there's subtle shade of manipulation that goes on with Andy that we, the viewers, get to see. And I think he, honestly, I think he does it a little bit better than Gabe is trying to do it. I think Gabe gets opportunities based on how the structure of the game works out, which we can, I guess, dive into in another episode. But yeah, no, interested to get your thoughts on, now that we've seen Sierra be voted out, what do you think some of the impressions that the other uh, survivors had while they were while they were thinking of voting her out? What do you think was kind of running through their minds?
I mean, they claim that, well, first of all, we want Gata, and then process of elimination, Andy's with us. We're not going to vote for him. Sam, social and physical threats. Sierra, honestly, probably also physical and social threat. And I think they must have ranked Sierra's strategic, also strategy, so strategy skills above Sam's, and so ranked her as a bigger danger as this game goes on. And I mean, she came across as smart and competent, so I don't necessarily disagree with that. Uh, in fact, if if you're projecting ahead, let's say you're worried about the physical threat of Sam, and you want to get out Sam, but you also already have his physical threat, Kyle, back to back individual immunity wins.
Challenge beast.
Incredible,
Yeah,
right? So if your worst fears come true, you don't vote out Sam, and then Sam wins next week. Well, then we can get out the other physical threat, who is Kyle. And if Sam doesn't win, then we can get him next time. So I'm gonna put the Will stamp of approval for if you are choosing to target yellow. I'm good with Sierra. My asterisk is I think I would have targeted blue. But if you are targeting yellow, then Sierra, I'm good with that.
interesting. What about your thoughts, Ange?
I agree in terms of I think Sierra did. Out of all of them, they could have picked Rachel, Sam, Sierra, not knowing that Rachel has an immunity idol. I think the best person to pick out of them would be Sierra because Sierra meshes well with the other people. Not quite like I think it's more with like Teeny. She kind of talked about with Genevieve, so I could see her being a good social person, and without even without Sam, she could maybe try. But I think the issue is what they fear in the very beginning is that everyone saw them as a locked pair, and nobody wants to work with a locked pair because you're just the one outside of that
The
three. You
third
know,
wheel.
nobody wants to be the third
Absolutely.
wheel. Like absolutely, yeah, you're. It's gonna be a losing game. So I think everyone's like, oh, I like Sierra, but at the same time, I gotta be careful. I'm gonna still stick with my people because in the end of the day, Sierra and Sam are a couple. They're together. They're to like everybody says it or thinks about it.
So sad.
Versus, I
They
know.
they were aligned, but like I feel like it got revealed out of nothing. People were just like, yeah, they're probably working together. Or no, or maybe was it Andy who just told everybody that, or
Just
at least
watch out
in
for any tears that Sam is going to have in this next episode.
Yeah. And everybody put them together. And I remember in one episode, like, why did they think? I was like, I don't know, they're two good looking people together. And I'm like, that's like the stupidest thing to just assume
They do
that they're
everything together. They
together.
argue about chickens together. They
Yeah.
do challenges together.
Yeah, and I feel like, but I think if I was in the outside team, yes, Sierra is the best person to vote out of all of them. But I, again, if the moment Kyle, as sad as I am, because I do like Kyle, the moment he slips up, he's done. He's gone. Goodbye, Kyle. It's nice seeing you, my vegan chicken nugget eater, chicken wing eater.
uh, so how about this? Baby's first auction. F Survivor auction. You didn't know this even existed. Well, what'd you think?
Well, the first impression was it's something worth watching. You guys got very hyped about it, so I was just in terms of what an auction is supposed to be. It did follow the format. I was expecting there would be a lot more bidding back and forth, but I think one of the things that we were laughing about as it went on was, is this a case where Jeff is just kind of making up some of these rules on the fly? And in certain rounds, it did seem like he was doing that. So I think it was entertaining. It was nice to see that there's a lot of variety brought in to the episode to be able to give certain punishments for certain food choices, bring some randomness to the challenge, and then have that uncertainty in terms of you don't know when the round is going to end. So I think all in all, if I was to rate it out of 10 in terms of the challenge for the episode, even though I know that's not necessarily the challenge. I would say that's like a 7 or an 8. That's a pretty good starting point, and I hope it's something that they can expand on.
So I can give you a little Survivor history lesson. So in the early seasons, eventually they debut this cool idea, the Survivor auction, and all the people who are left in the game are given the same amount of money. And like you saw, Jeff will come and reveal food items specifically, sometimes covered, sometimes not. And the idea was all like entertainment, laugh at them through your screen, where they're spending this much money for fries and a shake, or they get this like horrible item, bugs or worse, or you get something you can share. So it was all for laughs originally. Um, and then what started happening is uh, like it was kind of boring, because not necessarily boring, but it's not about strategy. So Survivor decides, okay, let's make it about strategy. So now there are going to be items that are not food. Actually, they're advantages of some kind. Will you bid for food, or will you bid for an advantage? Uh, that was interesting at first, but the castaways were smart and pretty clear. It was like, oh, of course you bid all your money. You bankrupt yourself for the advantage, and it would just happen every time. And things continue where there was all these, the players got too smart for the auction. There was a time when you get letters from home, love from home. You can bid on that. And
Oh wow.
if I pay $200 for my letter from home, then everybody else can do it if they pay what I pay. Sounds
I'm
great.
just picturing it the way you're describing it. They're
Yeah.
stealing your letter from home.
Yeah. No. Although there's been drama, but not exactly like that. So that sounds great. But again, the castaways get smart. So knowing this, they started bidding the minimum $20 for the letters, knowing and then like social contract, nobody outbid him or her, because then all of us can bid just $20 to get all our letters. And things like that would happen where they got too smart. So in the end, canceled it, no more auction. Years and years, seasons and seasons and seasons passed, nothing. And then in this kind of so-called new era, season 41 and on, they've brought it back some of the time, trying their best to close up those loopholes. Like what you saw, the whoever has the most left over loses their vote. So in other words, don't don't hoard your money, or else you could lose your vote, kind of thing.
Yeah,
What
like I
about the
said.
That's
cash?
kind of how
Oh,
we
yeah.
got here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna ask, like, what about the cash back system? Is this new, or did I forget about it being a thing last time?
This is the first time we've seen that. I imagine it's to help, like, oh, you think you're gonna outsmart us by spending all your money on like the first item? Well, now you did that, but actually you got some cash back, and with only $60, now you can't outbid other people to like get rid of your money again. So I imagine
That's
that's what
so
they were thinking.
smart. That's so big brain of them.
All in all, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think it's like I said, it's something that I feel they can expand upon more. I do like when Jeff is able to think outside the box himself and try to put the contestants on edge. I think that adds a little spice to the episode. So you want to see a situation where you don't know what it's going to turn out to be. So I like the concept of you have all this money, but there's a risk that comes with that where if you don't use your money, you're going to lose your vote. So I like the concept behind that.
Yeah, the previous, I forget if it was last time the auction or the time before that. It's been pretty infrequent, like I just said. I think Jeff announced like to the group, and just so you know, there are no advantages. And like they cheered because it was just known that advantages ruin it, because everyone of course is going to spend all their money on the advantage. So it's funny that like they cheered then. This time he did not say those words, and so it's not like he was lying, and it wasn't advertised as an advantage, but the advantage was hidden in in one of the items. Uh think I'm okay with. I think in terms of like loopholes closed. Uh, I mean, the real thing is losing your vote necessary? I think that's what the worlds of Survivor fans' most contentious issue is. Should we have so many things that take away your vote?
Yeah, it's
Today, when we watched, it didn't bother me. But let me. What do you guys think?
I'm
it's
actually
definitely
okay with it.
troublesome.
Yeah, I think it's okay with it because in Survivor, a vote is a big deal, and this is a game. This is a thoughtful game. I think it's pretty thoughtful now because you're right. If you have a lot of money, you have a lot of buying power. But if you have a lot of money, you are risking yourself losing your vote. And it's a game where you don't know when's the last food item is. You're holding your breath for it. I mean, thinking about it, if I, in a way, if Sam didn't eat the grubs and just walk back, he would have had enough money to outbid the other people for a next item and have $0 and wouldn't have lost his vote. You know, votes are really powerful, and I thought this is a pretty, and not super strategic, but it's some sort of game that allows you to kind of think a bit more and also get some fun stuff going on. What do you think, F?
Yeah, I think it can be troublesome where not necessarily this challenge, but just having the ability to lose your vote every week. I think some of the dilemmas that we see are in situations where someone is not able to vote. We saw a challenge previously where as soon as the merge happened, you had an entire group not able to vote. So, it was as though like the merge didn't happen where you're expecting everyone to have an individual vote. So I think that like I could see why they're doing it. I think it's, just to add variety to the episode. So not every episode seems like they're rehashing the same formula. But I think it's something that you need to look out for and not try to implement, as you get further along. I think with less votes, less survivors around, I think it becomes more important for each person to have their vote despite what happens in the episode.
You're blowing my mind because that take is a very experienced Survivor fans take. The idea that this so-called earn the merge and it's not really a merge vote is making it feel like it's not the merge. That I mean, I've been saying that for
Well,
a
that's the
while. I mean,
impression I got.
everyone's
Yeah.
saying, yeah, that see Jeff Probst, like even the newbies are seeing this. It's funny. Uh, I definitely agree with that. And all I can tell you is tonight, like as it played out, didn't bother me. But I think there's other scenarios where it just feels unnecessary. Like the beware advantages, those feel great because you can walk away. You don't have to do this. And even if you do take the beware advantage, you could just get good and complete the trial and you have your vote back. Uh, so I'm all good with that. But other things like you go on a journey that you went
Yeah.
on because you did like rock paper scissors, and then the challenge at that journey is pick a random scroll, and that scroll will tell you if you can vote or not. That I don't jive with that.
Yeah, I feel like the journey had become less of an advantage and more of a disadvantage because there are journeys where like one person's got to lose their vote in order for them to get a mutant idol, or you try this path or this path, and hopefully the two other people choose like whichever path is needed. And then when you come back, you lie to your people and they still, like, I mean, they're gonna not believe you in the first place. You tell them the truth, they're not gonna believe you. So you have a target in your back because they're like, oh, does this person have immunity idol, what kind of advantage they have? And you could tell them the real story and they're gonna be like, that doesn't sound right, that doesn't sound right. And I just feel like if I was in that shoe and I'm already on, like, on edge that I'm being next, I don't even want to draw rocks, I don't want to go. You can go. Anyone but me. That's how I would feel about the advantage, which is weird because in the beginning I thought it was like a fun add-on. The journey, I thought it was a true advantage, but now I feel like it's definitely more of a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think I saw that during the episode. I think to add to your point, the other detriment to going on the journey is, especially if you're within your tribe pre-merge, everyone's trying to get a lay of the land, try to see, what each contestant's, like what their strengths, weaknesses are, how they can exploit them. I think you miss out on those conversations with your own tribe men if you're going on the journey. So not only is it something where you come back and have to say a story, they've had all these discussions without you, which you then have to let piece together yourself and try to come to an understanding of what's going on. We saw it with Teeny, where her group voted despite her not having a vote, and she was caught completely off guard. It's a situation where it creates a sort of barrier for you to be able to see what's going on within your own tribe while a lot of things could be happening.
Yeah, and I don't know, is it like the magic of editing, but it always feels so rush. It always feel like I don't know how big this island is and how many laps I got to run back and forth to comp, because it's not like I could text Will and then text F, be like, we're gonna do Survivor B. I can't, we can't do that. I gotta walk around. I gotta be sure that nobody thinks I'm like talking to you too much or talking to someone else too much. And but it feels so rushed. And I feel like by being going on this journey, you're taking a big slab of time to be able to make that decision or talk to people.
Survivor F would definitely say F this.
Would
Okay, fine.
Survivor go for Will?
Whoa, now. Let's put your money where your mouth is. So what are you gonna do about it? The boat shows up. It says pick somebody to go on the journey. Now what? What if people are pointing to you? What if people are like, "F, you want to go?"
I mean, I would find it weird if someone is just like proposing that I go. I definitely wouldn't take initiative. Like, my first thought would not be to say, "Hey, I'm going to go," just because, especially someone who's never watched Survivor. I don't know how beneficial or against me it would be. So, like, I might have some more uncertainty about it than someone else might. So I might not know that it could be a disadvantageous situation that I'm putting myself in. But it's one of those situations where I'm open to going, but only if I see that no one else is receptive to it. I'm definitely not going to be taking initiative on it and saying, "Hey, I'm going to go."
No,
It's
you
funny.
gotta be stronger than that.
You gotta be like, yes.
I can't accept that. Well, if no one else wants to go, I'll do it. No, if
No. Okay,
if you think this is bad, yeah, go.
some additional context is needed here. If I see that, no one else wants to go, but like I can try to piece together that there could be an advantage here for me if I can take advantage of something that others are not willing to do. There's obviously a risk there, but I'm someone who, in certain scenarios, if I feel like there's enough of an ability to get ahead with that risk, I'll take that risk. So it's not
Okay,
that
I could tell you
I would try
that.
to get a lay of the land to see how others are receptive to it, not necessarily, I'm just waiting for someone else to say, "Hey, I want to go," or "Hey, I don't want to go." They might themselves not say anything, and I can't get a read on it. It's a situation where just because I don't really know what it entails, my first thought is not going to be, "Hey, I'm going to go do it."
Okay, I can tell you that from what we know of the recent seasons, there will certainly be an opportunity to gain an advantage on this journey. Like we're saying these things are horrible. Like you could get an advantage, and those have been pivotal in some seasons. Like what people get. It's just that usually there's also the chance that you lose your vote or worse on these things.
Is that known to the contestants? Like, do they know that, or do they find out once
If
they actually go on the journey?
they don't know what's in store for them, but they have the same information in terms of like they've watched the recent season. Well, maybe lately the people who are cast in the show seem to be fans of the show and they've watched like previous seasons. But I suppose if you didn't watch any seasons, then yeah, you'd have nothing. You would not. You would have no idea. All you know is like this boat showed up. It's like, oh, exciting, and then I mean, even this season. I mean, I forget who it was, but people volunteered, and I was like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely volunteer. Do you guys think that since most recent seasons, a lot of them are Survivor fans, and they talk about that, I've been watching it since I was a little kid or a teenager, I've always dreamed of this. I got a bucket list item like to do. Would it be more advantageous to just pretend you don't know and be like, oh, my friend submitted me for this and I got in. Oh my gosh. Do you ever think that's an advantage or actually that doesn't do anything?
I definitely like the saying "ignorance is bliss" because sometimes it can give you a sense of bravado that you might need to push through a challenge. But I think there are cases, obviously, where it can hurt you. Case in point being Keyshawn, how he got eliminated. He had a lot of confidence in how he was socially manipulating the people around him that he didn't realize that he himself was being seen as a threat. So I think for me, going back to my response to Will, it's a situation where I think not knowing the full terms, I would, especially if the game is just starting out and I'm trying to get a lay of the land, I want to be very cautious. I don't want to be quick to jump the gun on anything, especially if I don't know anything. I think that's a recipe for disaster.
So
Gotcha,
would you
gotcha.
pretend you don't know anything about Survivor? Is that like what you would be like? You'll be like,
Uh,
"Oh, what's next?" Or like, "What do you mean immunity
that's
idol? What
that's a
you were
great
looking for
question.
that?"
That's a great question. I think in thinking it over, you don't want to give any of the other contestants some obvious tells which they can use to exploit you. So I wouldn't want to reveal that to others. I'm hoping it's something that wouldn't be brought up in conversation, so they could test that theory on me. But it's not something I would outwardly say to anyone. I would just come in as a contestant and be like, "I'm
Mm,
gonna do my thing. Let's go. Let's try to win this competition."
okay. What about you, Will? Would you like you have the most experience. You're the adult Survivor fan. Would you
That's right.
pretend
That's
you're
right.
just a little baby or not even a born Survivor fan that just your mom, your friend was like, "Oh, they just put me in an audition tape and told me to do it and they got me in. Boom, I'm
Yeah.
here."
The plan is simple. Your goal is to blend in. So if you're with a group of Survivor fans, you're a Survivor fan. And if you're a group of
Oh.
Survivor nobodies, then you're gonna be that. So with this group, I would, even if I wasn't actually, so ideally, even if you weren't a fan, you'd want to act that way. It's just like how good do you think you're gonna be at acting at that point. So you gotta self-evaluate. But the goal is I can't give anyone a reason for me to stand out. And at the beginning, whoever stands out for just stupid reasons, they just get voted out because people are scared. They don't want to be the first person out, so they're just gonna pick the person that isn't alike the other people, and that's just what happens. So I need to
Yeah.
match the energy. Uh, even how about this? Everyone's lazy. They're not working on the shelter. They have horrible worth ethics. Too bad. I can't be the guy. I can't yell at them and tell them to get their
Yeah,
butts off the ground.
that's
I
true.
got I gotta become a lazy bum if that's the case. That's if
You're
that's my
gonna
problem.
sit down too and lay there with everybody.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be like, guys, we gotta make the shelter. Guys, I know how to make a good shelter. I know how to make a good fire. Gotta do the fire. Go collect some wood.
Everything. Just did not follow that Rome template, huh?
No.
Rome, what a character. We he's gone before our time began here, but what a legend Rome. If Rome plays again, are you excited to watch that season?
He's
Absolutely
definitely
not.
entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, no, he's an entertaining person to follow. But I could just
No.
picture you on an island, Will, kind of talking about your strategy. If you see a bunch of nobodies, you just hop onto the island, and be like, "Oh, Survivor? Is that where we're? Am I pronouncing that
Survivor.
right? Is
Yeah,
that what you call it?
well,
Survivor?"
I mean, yeah, but wait, did Ange, you say no? You never want to see him
Yeah,
again?
no, I do not want to see him again. He was too much for me. He was rude. He was um his puzzle games till this day I still think about it. I'm still like, "Oh my gosh, there was no way this was not a calculated move." If it wasn't, I would have if I was him, I would have put it down as if it was. It was a calculated move to get Soul out because that was a pitiful puzzle making he did. No puzzles were part of that. They had a great lead, yet they still lost. It was horrific. And that's not the part that bothered me. The part that bothered me was just he was just too confident, too like nasty, and he thought everyone was being controlled by him. And I just don't like him. He didn't win a million hearts, at least not mine.
Is it
he's
isn't
no
that
he's no he's
good
no
in a
Banu.
isn't that good in the
He's no
sense that
Banu.
Bono, okay. Isn't
What are
that
we
good
gonna
in the
say?
sense that he kind of kept you watching the show just to see his downfall? Would you say that's true?
Ooh, I could yeah, I mean in a way. But I'll watch it without a Rome, but he did make it more fun. I do think that throughout Survivor, the most like memorable moments are those like it is the blind sides, but it's also the wild people that come in, like the
Yeah.
people that burn your own like people's like rice. Like you just think about it forever and you don't ever forget about it. You know, it's like those moments where I'm like, wow, this is really good moments. Do I think Rome made that level of impact on my mind? No, but this season he did. He annoyed me enough.
Honestly, I'm right there with you. I think I was waiting for him to get eliminated. He was one of the few that I think I did miss out on calling, unfortunately. But that was a situation where we joked around about it during one of the episodes, where I was saying, he has that dynamic with Saul where they really do not jive with each other. It would be funny to see them make it to the end and have to face off against each other somehow because they keep showing up in challenges together as part of a group.
It
That
would
would
have
be
been
a great,
legendary.
yeah, that would
Final
be.
two showdown between
And
them.
the final two is just them two like on
Yeah.
there, and then like clips of them yelling at each other, more like Rome yelling at Soul and following him while like I don't think I've ever seen someone being so aggressively following them as they're walking around because like nope, you're not gonna have a chance to find a new idol. I'm gonna walk with you the entire day. You are not gonna find
I
one.
I respect how calm Saul was in that moment, and I know a lot of people wouldn't be.
Soul has been cool, calm, collected, but will it be good enough to win in the game? We shall see. I want to wrap up with housekeeping here. So, first housekeeping, you good with Soul instantly telling Rachel that he saved her?
I think so. I think it's either now or never, or someone else being like, "Oh, actually, it was me, Rachel. It's actually me. I did it." I don't know. I also don't feel like Rachel and Soul's like connection is that deep. So like, I don't know.
I
Soul's
It
definitely
stuck.
looks
go ahead.
it looks like it it was net neutral at worst, and at best, like she genuinely appreciates it. Maybe that'll like influence her decision. The only thing I'm worried about is like in this episode, Soul. I'm not sure how hard he had to fight for this, but like it influenced his decision on who to vote for and to try to persuade people not to vote for Rachel. So it just depends. Like if he's looking out for her, but she doesn't care about him, then that's just like extra wasted effort from Soul. However, like I said, I don't think this hurt, so I'm good with it.
So if Will and Survivor F, would you have told Rachel, or would you have just kind of let it be and slowly sprinkle it in?
I don't think it really hurts you to let the other person know. I think what we saw in the episode was, for me personally, I was wondering how he would get the message across. I was thinking it would be in a more subtle manner. So the first 5 minutes of the episode proved me wrong when he quickly got her in a one-on-one and just outright told her. I think it's a situation where she understands that she owes him something. She doesn't necessarily have to act on that, but it's something where he at least has a sort of trust that she can see he is trying to build with her. And I think there's a level of honesty that he has shown where he, even earlier on with Genevieve, where he realized that she was going against him or she was putting his name out there. He went up to her and directly asked her about it. I wouldn't expect a lot of people would be doing that, at least directly. But I think it shows that, at least for us viewers, that he is trying to build something there with the person, and there's a reason that he's still around. And to me, it seems like he's a fan favorite. So I think whatever he's doing is working. He's obviously a smart guy. He's trying to figure out how to come across without being too much of a focal point for other teams to focus on, or I guess in this case, I should say other individuals. But I think it's a case of, if it were me, I definitely would want to tell Rachel in a
I'll
more
tell
subtle
her.
manner, I would say.
I tell Rachel, so I'm good with what he did. Um, Other housekeeping. F, did you already see someone use their shot in the dark this season, or is this your first time?
Um, can't remember off the top of my head. I would say this is the first time, so it kind of caught me off
Did
guard,
you
and I
did
was
did, did you did you follow like how that was working? or do you want it broken down?
I think it would be good to have a recap, but based on what Jeff was saying, he had a scroll where there was something like a 1 in 6 chance of something or something along those lines, but there was an opportunity for her to not be a vote, but she herself is risking losing her vote in the process, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, most you pretty much got it. So everyone, and this is fairly recent, like season 41 and on, just about. Everybody starts with a shot in the dark advantage. And funny enough, like I think I'm not sure if it's still this, but it was symbolized by like a die. Like literally, like everyone has a die, six-sided die in their bag that you just get. So everyone has this advantage at the start of the game, and you can do it one time only all season. You can walk up to vote, but instead of voting, you turn in your advantage, and that gives you a 1 in 6 shot of just being immune. Any votes cast against you don't count. Uh, and this, in theory, is like last ditch Hail Mary. Like all is lost because you're forfeiting your right to vote. So any plan you had to get out of it, you're not contributing to it because you're not voting. So this is kind of the idea is it's your last shot, and it incentivizes blind sides because I want to completely fool the person I want out so that they don't use their shot in the dark. So
Oh,
And
that is what played out.
is
you
the
know
shot
what?
in the dark like predetermined from the moment you got the dice? Or does the person roll the dice and determine it? Or does people in the background determine it? Like, how does this shot
that
in the
is
dark
a
determine?
that is a very savvy question. And just like people laugh at Jeff Probst and CBS for this. So they wanted it to be a die because it's 1 6 shot, but you can't actually roll it
Oh
because
my gosh.
it's too loud, so people would know that you're using it. So
Oh,
instead you use your shot in the dark advantage, your die, to put it aside, and then pick. There's like a another urn in that voting booth area, and you reach in and you grab one of the parchments, one of the piece of paper, and you take it with
gotcha.
you take it with you. So and inside that urn, at this point, there's probably 12 scrolls, and two of them say safe, so that's still 1 6. And then you give it to Jeff, and Jeff reveals it because originally they had like you reveal it, but then the person wasn't standing perfectly for the camera, so it's kind of awkward. So now Jeff will do it. But yeah,
Jeff's got
it's just
this.
funny that you have a die to not roll the die and instead pick a scroll that then you have to give to Jeff, and then Jeff will reveal the scroll.
Jeff with his killer rules.
It's funny. I wonder if Andy, because he lost his die for a bit, like would they be like, no die, can't, no can do, Andy.
I'm pretty sure that yes, you would not be able to. You need to turn in the die. So yeah, if you lost it, then that's on you.
So if you use your shot in the dark, are you allowed to use your immunity idol? Because I wonder if that was Rachel's
Uh,
plan. Like, was she like trying to see if I use my shot in the dark and I thought I would be voted out and people were planning to vote for me? I would probably be like, are anybody like feeling a little nervous or no reaction? And I feel like Rachel's probably like, okay, no reaction. I'm probably safe. So I'm not going to use my immunity idol. Or she couldn't have. And she just rolled with it. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if you knew if you're able to double up on that.
it's a great question. I I should know the answer. Don't know the answer. We'll find out. We'll find out next week. If
I,
anyone ever listens to this, tell me the answer.
I think relating to the shot in the dark, it got me thinking actually, because while we were watching the episode, I also was curious as to why she used that rather than utilize her idol if she was concerned about that. And it just occurred to me that what she did was really smart in the sense that I don't think she used it in the sense that she was worried that people were voting her out. She probably used it because she was worried that people thought she had power and it was a way to risk showing yourself as lacking that strength to others so she would not have to use the idol. she used it in a way that she can then save the idol for future use. I think that's how she planned the entire set of events. I don't think she was coming into it thinking that she was going to be a vote. Obviously, she's taking a risk there, but I think with the mental gymnastics that she was playing there, that's what it seems like to me. And I know we were joking all around about, everyone saying that like Rachel's this mastermind, but I think the way this episode ended, I definitely see some smarts there. I definitely see something there that she set herself up for, a future episode.
It could be. Certainly, having an idol is good. Being in the potential minority alliance, not good. So we'll see how it plays out. Which leaves us with our last housekeeping. On the spot, it's time. Who is winning Survivor season 47? And I will start. I am planting my flag with Caroline. Caroline is who I believe
Ooh.
will go the distance. She works so hard to pull everyone together. And I think when the dust settles, it's gonna mean that she didn't betray anybody. So she won't be disliked. So she just needs one critical move that she can speak to, like how she drove the game. And when she gets that, I think she's gonna be a millionaire.
Do you think it's going to be top three Caroline, Gabe, and Sue? Do you think that's where the best case scenario would be?
Uh oh, I think there's better. That's probably a bad case scenario
Oh,
for
bad case scenario.
Caroline.
Wait, how come?
Uh I think if Sue and Gabe made it, it's because together they've made their own moves, and since the three of them have been aligned, it's gonna be harder to persuade the jury. Oh yeah, that thing that happened in episode 9, that was me. Because then her teammates who are in her alliance would be like, well, actually, I drove that. No, I drove that. Like, ideally, I want people who are not involved in my plans. I want all my allies on the jury, and hopefully they still like me. They'll vote for me. And as for everybody else,
Oh, that's
now I
hard.
now I can say like, hey, even if it's true that my allies helped me out, you can't vote for them. You can only vote for me. And as a group, we got you out. So I think that's how it's gonna play out. Caroline, that's my vote.
I like it. That's a really good one. I'm thinking it is going to be Soul. I think he's gonna pull something. I might be biased because he won my heart too. I'm really hoping for Soul. I hope he plays into a little better with his maybe he will play a little bit better with Rachel, Teeny, Genevieve. I know they were kind of rocky, so I'm hopeful. This might be a biased pick, and I might change next week, but I'm feeling Soul.
Yeah, I think on a first impression basis, I also would have said Soul, but something in my gut is just telling me that while he is one of the people that I picked, so there's some bias in there for me as well. I think it would be someone more unexpected, to be honest. So I think for me, Caroline would be more unexpected, but just to change things up, I wouldn't say Caroline.
I mean, you could join the will train if you want. Jump on
No,
board.
just because she isn't someone who I would really be thinking of as mate. Like if you were to ask me, like, do you expect her in the top three? She wouldn't be one of the names I would have given you. I think honestly, I would have to think about like how the challenges have worked out, social dynamics. She is a pretty good all rounder. I will give you that. But I think in terms of just being able to get there, it's a tough
To
question.
give you more time here, I can tell you that on the Road to Glory Survivor League, since I lost Sierra, sad. I'll definitely be swapping to Caroline. I'm going all in.
See, if
She's
she wasn't
joining the
the
team.
focus this week, I actually quite honestly might have said Sierra. Um, but I think now that we've seen this episode, I don't know. That's a tough one. I could see could see Caroline, to be honest. If I'm like, I mean, I could see a pathway for all of them. I don't, unfortunately, I don't really see it for Kyle because of how much pressure he has on him. I will say Teeny. I think Teeny has good relationships with everyone, even though she doesn't necessarily seem like she's on the top. So I think she could sneak away in terms of just not being seen as a threat, similar to how Andy has been able to kind of string himself along. But I think she, she does well socially. She gets along with people. She's better at challenges than Andy is. So I think that gives me a little bit more. Uh, that gives her a little bit more of a safety net that I would have given Andy, because otherwise I would have said Andy, even though that also seems like a pretty surprise pick right now. So my answer would be Teeny.
Teeny, look at that. So for now, three different picks, but only one can win it all. It would be great if the three of them do make it to the end, though. That'd be crazy. So just so
Before
you know, yeah.
before we wrap this up, I also had one question that I wanted to ask both you guys. So
Mm-hmm.
as we look towards the next episode, what are you going to be looking out for? Is there anything that you're going to be focusing in on? Is there anything that's changed in terms of what your focus has been?
I'm
What are you going to keep your eye
Ooh.
out for in the next episode?
I'm looking to see, is there any possible way that Sam and Rachel can repair the damage? Like it is looking real bleak now. What possible strategy could they use to prevent themselves from being the next two people voted out?
Interesting.
For
What about
example,
you,
in
Ange?
fact, I'll give
That's
you something
hard.
specific. My very specific thing, will Rachel, in this time of desperation, do what I hate that people do nowadays and tell somebody about her idol, specifically Sam, to
Don't
attempt
do
to
it.
do some kind of play?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Because right now, incredible job. Like she actually has something that no one else knows about, and really rare in the last several seasons of Survivor. And I'll be sad if it only lasts one episode, but I admit, desperation time. So that's my specific what to watch for. Will Rachel tell Sam about her hidden immunity item?
That's a really
But
good one.
why would you think like Rachel will want to tell Sam? Because like they're already in an alliance. She doesn't need to like because usually when you're like, oh, I am an immunity idol, you're trying to prove that you trust that person. We're in an alliance together. But I thought they're already like together.
So
So
I'm thinking that because right now things, like I said, things looking bleak. If nothing changes, the whole rest of the tribe is gonna split the vote between both of them to get them out. So their only hopes is either let's just concede and just basically vote for each other and see what happens, or together attempt to create some plan that involves using the idol. So maybe with Sam's
ooh,
help, Sam really lays it on to get them to, rather than split the vote, like but basically put too many votes on Rachel so that Rachel uses her idol, then her, Sam, and let's say two other people can vote out another person.
I see what you're saying. Oh, that's smart. And then they'll even with that though, they still don't have fully the numbers because it's gonna be just them two, and then they live for another week, but another like day. But what about the next day? They don't have another idol
Yeah.
after. But going back to your question, Survivor F, I want to know how Andy and Sam is gonna recuperate on what happened during this episode. During, I just need to know what Andy's gonna say to Sam because I feel like Sam, like Sierra and Andy, I can see because Sierra never really like wanted to work with Andy. Like there's multiple times she wanted him to go, but Sam's just like, no, no, he's harmless, it's fine, don't worry about it. And they have voted off of like Annika, which Sierra was closer to. Sierra, Rachel, Annika were all together. So I'm just curious what is going to be the next step and what's going to be talked about. Usually again like during Survivor you're just like, no, I get it, I understand, or like it's fine, but what are we gonna I wonder what Sam's gonna do and how Andy's gonna go and how Andy's gonna scramble to find like someone to be close to.
That's a really good thought, and that's exactly what I would have said for the points that you've outlined. I think to give a little bit more of an original answer myself, the other thing that I would be looking out for is the continued pressure on Kyle because everyone seems to focus on the fact that he is winning these challenges. He himself seems to realize that that is putting the pressure on him. So, got to support my boy Kyle. I hope he's able to set up a situation where he can try to form some meaningful bonds because my concern with him as part of Tuku is he's the expendable member in Tuku as soon as, he doesn't win one of those challenges. They have him as a shield, so they can leverage that, and the other Tuku members probably realize that. What is Kyle going to do to kind of keep himself in the game where he's not constantly having to rely on an immunity idol?
I like that. Do you think the
I,
moment Kyle loses the immunity idol, all his tribes are going to vote him over Sam, over Rachel?
I wouldn't necessarily go that far because he is a vote for them as well. Like he will like he realizes that he has the majority with them, but I think as the numbers start to thin, that will be a problem. I don't think we're there quite yet, but I think within the
Mm.
next week or two, then yes, it's something to be keeping an eye on. You were saying something, Will?
all all fascinating points. What I'm gonna say is that uh, it's been a great time chatting with y'all. I think I this is a great outlet. We just watched the episode and pretty much went right into this, so it is really great to just get all my thoughts out there. And I just can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. A last chance. Do either of you have anything you want sent out to the world?
No.
No,
Looking forward to
soul
next week's
forever.
episode. I agree with that. Yeah, looking forward to
Yes.
next week's episode. It's been a pleasure. F out.
I love
Well,
it.
well said. Well, your island has spoken, and until we speak again, ciao.